If the May Diversity Committee could come to order, please. Are there any public commenters? Seeing none, could I have an approval? Well, we should review the minutes and hold them for approval when we have a quorum. But I note no changes. Any changes to the work plan?
Yes, Madam Chair, there is one change to the work plan. In September, we will present the MTA's DBE goal for the next 3 federal fiscal years and the goal rationale. That will be presented in September. Other than that, there are no changes to the work plan.
Thank you. Could you take us through the executive summary, please? Which begins on page 22.
Yes, for the outreach events, our office continues to reach out to minority, women-owned, disadvantaged businesses, as well as service-disabled, veteran-owned businesses to create opportunities for them in the procurement activities at the MTA. For the certification activity, for the reporting period, 35 new certification applications were received, and 42 applications were processed. In each case, the number I presented is higher when compared with the previous 2 years for the same period. For the EEO report, there are overall over 72,700 employees at the MTA and its agencies. Women make up over 12,800 employees, and that's 18%. And for minorities, it's over 49,000, or 68%. Additionally, there are over 1,800 veterans, which is 2% of the workforce. There is an increase of women in the workforce of 579. That represents 5% increase. There's also an increase of minorities, roughly 1,948. That's about 4% increase. For new hires, 1,908 employees were hired, and of these, 23% are women and 78% are minorities. Additionally, there are 3% who are veterans. For the EEO, no, I think at this point, yes. For the EEO complaints, there were 356 complaints handled. That's internal and external. The internal complaints were 193, and external were 163 complaints. Next item is the Title VI program presentation, and I will yield to my colleague, Joyce Brown.
Thank you, Naeem. Thank you. My name is Joyce Brown. I'm going to give a briefing on Title VI. Title VI is the Civil Rights Act of 1964. It indicates that no person in a federally funded program or activity should be excluded from participation in or the denial of benefits or subject to discrimination based on race, color, and national origin. In 1994, President Clinton added low income and environmental justice as an executive order. Title VI has 5 different objectives. The first objective is to ensure that the level and quality of transportation service is equitable. The second is to identify and address disproportionately high and adverse effects. The third is to ensure that public involvement by minorities and low income and limited English proficiencies population is included. The fourth one is to prevent the denial, reduction, and delay of benefits related to programs and activities, and also to ensure meaningful access to programs and activities by persons with limited English proficiency. How does Title VI apply to MTA? We're required every 3 years to submit a Title VI program to FTA for approval. The agencies are required to submit their program to the Department of Diversity and Civil Rights annually for review. Non-compliance to Title VI could either delay or withhold your program, your federal funding. Title VI has 7 key elements, the program. They're all listed there up above the screen. You have to have your notice to the public, complaints, and also racial breakdown of the board, language assistance program, public participation program. Necessary board items. There are some things that the board are required to do prior to the program being submitted to FTA, which is the service standards are to be approved in advance of the program being submitted. Also, your major service change policy is also required. Those were submitted to the board in June 2013. Any results of any service or fair equity analysis that happened in the past 3 years are required to be submitted to the board, and the results of any monitoring. Next steps that's required, we ask that the board approve the 2017 Title VI program, and we ask that it approve submission to FTA for June 1, 2017. That's my report.
Are there any additional policies that are needed after this 3-year period and no additional updates?
No, ma'am.
Okay. So we can move this directly to the board on Wednesday then?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay.
Okay.
For the MWDB contract compliance activities for the first 6 months of the federal fiscal year, which began on October 16, and this report is through March 2017. For those 6 months, there was over $400 million awarded in federally funded contracts, and of which 72 million or 18% was awarded to DBEs. In terms of payments, there was approximately $2 billion paid on prime contractors, and the DBE share was $147 million or 27%. For discretionary awards, total of $38 million was awarded, and for MWBEs, it's $11 million or 30%. And as small business concerns, which are other than MWBEs, there was an additional $3 million.
Let me also say, Susan, that basically on the awards that were made, the goal is 17%, and we achieved 18% on our FTA funded projects.
And I believe I haven't mentioned the payments to MWBEs. Sorry. Page 27 of the book. I'm sorry, for the summary. I beg your pardon. So for the non-federally funded or state-funded contracts, there was $2 billion that was awarded, and $316 million or 16% went to MWBEs, and an additional $2 billion was presented to. I'm sorry, I got my numbers wrong here. The overall goal is 30%, as we know, and the state-funded contracts, the MWBE share is $23 million. So discretionary procurements I already stated. So let me state the outside counsel fees, which is a total of $31 million was paid in outside counsel fees, and the MWBE law firm's share was $3 million or 10%.
Let me also indicate that we're working with each one of the operating agencies to focus on expanding opportunities for MWBE law firms. The 10% is the highest in the history of the MTA, but it's deficient of the governor's 30%. And so immediately after the board meeting on Wednesday, I will be meeting with the councils to stress the need to come up with some strategies that will effectively allow us to move forward in a more inclusive manner. And let me also say that the most recent panel of law firms that was earlier approved in the Finance Committee, Sean and Naeem and others worked extremely hard with making sure that the final panel of MWB law firms was inclusive. So I think out of the 130-something law firms that we're bringing in, a total of about 33, 34 are certified by the state of New York. So that gives us a nice and diverse pool in order to choose from and to issue assignments to.
So we're going to get to 30% with more hard work?
Definitely. Definitely. Yes.
Yes.
Right. Exactly.
Site visits? Site visits?
And that,
Yes.
Okay.
Site visits.
Good afternoon. Good afternoon. My name is Doreen Tabaris. I'm Assistant Director within the Department of Diversity and Civil Rights, and I will present our numbers for site visits. At this juncture, between the third quarter of 2015 and the completion of the first quarter of 2017, DDCR has conducted a total of 1,070 site visits. The site visits are conducted on both federally funded and state-funded contracts. And the site visits take place at various facilities of current activity on our MTA contracts. That includes construction sites, and we also perform site visits at the offices of various MW and DBEs. Our compliance managers conduct an average of 8 site visits per month. We have a goal of 96 annually per compliance manager, and we're well on our way to achieve those numbers this year.
that's good news.
You mentioned, Susan, that we are not going to get caught on that again with respect to the site visits, in addition to the closeouts. And so it's my understanding that there's going to be a focus on creating an all-agency closeout policy, which would allow the agencies to close out their projects, which gives us the information that we need in order for us to conduct our closeout process.
More progress. That's good. Are we on to
Capital projects?
capital project?
Yes. So for the 3 months of this year, that's January through March, in federally funded contracts, 40 million was awarded, and the DBE share was 11 million or 28%. For the state-funded contracts, 71 million awarded, and MBE share 12 million or 17%, and the WBE share of 9 million or 13%, for a total MWB participation of 30%.
Small business update?
Yes. George?
Good afternoon. You can see our small business development program update on page 89. I'm just going to give you an overview. Currently, we have 173 firms pre-qualified in our Tier 1 program. We got 53 firms pre-qualified in our Tier 2 program. In our federal program, we have 36 firms that has been pre-qualified. Our loan program, since inception to date, we have had 87 loans, totaling 11.7 million. And in total contracts, dollars that have been awarded, it's been 234.7 million in total contracts that have been awarded in the program. That correlates into 5,680 jobs that have been created through our projects. And our emerging contractors program, which we started in September last year, we currently have 42 firms that have been pre-qualified, and they're going through what we call our business assessment process right now, which is in progress. And we're very excited about that program. It's new and exciting, and it's giving more firms opportunity to participate in our program and to, be active in the program. And that concludes my report.
I really see the emerging contractors' efforts being a benefit to the contractor and to us. I still would like to see some Orange County firms.
Well, we're scheduled to be up there on Wednesday.
This Wednesday?
Yes, we're scheduled to be up in Orange County to do an outreach event.
Well, unfortunately, I won't be able to join you because I'll be here.
Okay. But we'll be up there.
But I'm glad to hear that.
Okay.
Are you meeting at the chamber again?
Yes.
Okay,
Yes.
good.
All right.
Let me say also, Susan, that we are basically, we met with each one of the operating agency presidents. There's been, I wouldn't call it a challenge, I would just say that we need to get more projects from the agencies throughout the year. And so essentially we met with all of the operating agency presidents and stressed the need for us to get more projects. And so this year, there was a goal of 96 million. We're going to wind up with about 70 million. And so there's going to be a lot of projects that's going to go to the next year. And the thing is that there's a similar program at the New York City School Construction Authority, which awards about 60% of their projects in the last quarter, the same as we're doing. And so basically what you're going to have, there's a large subset of those companies who are doing business here and there. And so we're hopeful that the prices are not going to go up because contractors now have the ability to pick and choose their projects. But I'm very optimistic that in briefing Ronnie, and that basically that we need to come up with a plan that's going to allow the agencies to allocate their projects with their forecasts.
Yeah, I think you do have to deal directly with the agencies. And that triggered a thought in my mind about the workforce diversity. I was very happy to see that overall we're making progress on both the number of women and the number of minorities. But I will tell you that the operating agencies have all of their individual reports in each operating agency's book, but it isn't really discussed. It's kind of kicked back to you. So I think it would be helpful if going forward you plan to have the individual agencies' progress reported here at Diversity on some regular basis, because it's not getting full scrutiny elsewhere. Although we do ask individual questions offline, it's not publicly done. Ronnie?
When the presidents come here to the Diversity Committee, that is one of the elements of their report, and this should be an appropriate forum for us to challenge each other about what we're doing and what's working in one agency that may be a help to another. Right?
I have over the years seen the agencies share success stories, and it does make a huge difference.
As a matter of fact, the agency presidents will be back in September.
Good, good.
In September.
Financial services?
Financial services, Pat.
Hi. Good afternoon. I'm speaking on behalf of my director, Patrick McCoy, who is away on business. Just to give highlights of what we've done for the state fiscal year from April 2016 through March 2017. It seems to be on page 104 in your book. For underwriter fees in New York State for the fiscal year, we've attained $16 million in fees that were awarded to underwriters. Of those underwriters, the participation, MB participation, was approximately $4 million, which was 25%, and WB participation was $1.5 million, which is 9%. The reason why the WB participation was a little low because historically women-owned firms in this space haven't been there, so we've been able to actually have that participation higher. But going forward in the next fiscal year, we have qualified women firms in that space, so we expect to reach the full 15%. But note that with that, the MBE participation may drop from the 25%, but still be above the 15. It'll be in the range of 15 to 20%. So we're still looking to make the 30% overall. And one other note is also the additional 5% was paid to service-disabled veteran-owned businesses, and that didn't reach the 6% target because it was one big transaction that there were no service-disabled veteran-owned businesses involved in the transaction. And that was just based on, because of the type of transaction it was, there were only senior managers, and we currently don't have any senior managers in that that are service disabled veteran-owned businesses in that space.
So, Pat, what was the total MWBE for this most recent year? I know that the previous year was 37.5%, which was the highest of any state agency and authority in the state.
Yeah, this year it wasn't as high as last year, but we still did well. It was 33.76%.
33.7, which is great. It's great. And you know, Pat and Bob Ferran should be commended with their leadership in this area, because they really go over and above to make sure that the investment banking fees are issued in the most inclusive manner. So thank you. Asset fund managers, as you heard at the finance committee, I'm very excited about what Sean indicated, that probably within the next 2 or 3 months that the MTA would have more than $1 billion in assets being managed by state certified asset fund managers. And it is my understanding that we also have some of the highest rates in the state of New York with regard to our asset fund managers.
So is that everything? It's a good summary. Goes quickly. I'll make a motion to adjourn.
Let me just have one last comment, that I want to just thank my staff. My staff is one of the hardest working staff anywhere. They work nights, weekends, holidays, and they live, eat, and sleep MW, DVE, inclusion. So thank you.
Thank you, Michael.
The hard work does show, so thank you, I agree. Now, I second my motion, and we're adjourned.